Hello everyone, Mrhappy here, and welcome to Mondays with Mrhappy, aka Mrhappy Mondays, the weekly Q&A show where you ask me questions and I answer them. You know, a lot of people have been asking me why there's that like sigh in the beginning before I start. And the reason is I've been just taking them off Twitch and putting them directly on YouTube. And sometimes Twitch is a little fussy. And Twitch likes to like include an extra 2 or 3 seconds from when I said for it to start. So you'll like get a few words like, let's start the show, or let's get started, and then a sigh, and then a start. You're not supposed to see those things usually, but you get a little insight into what happens behind the scenes. Luckily, you don't see all the rest of the edits and whatnot. Although that hasn't been happening so much on Mondays. It happened 2 weeks ago, I think, but not, or it happened last week, but not. It's not going to happen this week, because this week I'm actually going to edit the video and render it like I normally do. Anyway, we have like, just over 24 questions over on the forums, and I will be doing some live Twitch questions this week, unlike last week. Or was it last week with the computer problems? Yeah, unlike last week where I had the issues and I decided not to do it that way. So anyway, let's just get started with the questions so we can get some Twitch questions in this week. All right, and by the way, it's a new microphone. I'm sure you've noticed by the audio quality, but hopefully it sounds okay. I think I just blew the last one to hell because no matter what I did with it, it sounded like crackly almost. So hopefully this one sounds okay. Anyway, question number 1. Let's go. Oh, never mind. It was let's go. I understand. Haps. This time I thought to make a question roulette all about mounts. Crafty mount, obvious mount, maybe my memory is a bit off. You know what? I'll take maybe my memory is a bit off. Wasn't there a 3-star mount speed? So the 3-star mount speed is what the 2-star mount speed is. You have your base mount speed, you have 1-star, and you have 2-star. There's not a 3rd star after that. In total, there are 3 tiers of mount speed. The base one, the 1-star, and the 2-star. So you were kind of remembering correctly. It's just it's not a 4th tier. The 2nd star is the 3rd tier, and that's how you're remembering it. Question number 2. Yo, Haps, hope the new PC is working well. It is, thank God. I'm recording this on the new PC, and it's working fantastically. It's quieter, it runs cooler, it runs approximately at the same speed for the activities that I'm using it for. It's been great. It even has more USB ports, which I didn't even intentionally plan, but it works well. It even has the convenience of having an easy BIOS reset where I don't have to like open my computer up and stuff like that. It's a place I will go nowhere near with my bare hands out of fear of accidentally resetting the BIOS, though I probably have to hold it for like 5 to 10 seconds. Anyway, it's really, really nice. And I'm also enjoying the new motherboard, which I think is a better quality than the old one. I hope you have not answered this already. Well, if I have, this will be a short question. After Yoshipi's comment about new DPS jobs not affecting player selection and queue times, do you think Square Enix will invest some time and research into balance for adding jobs for any other expansions? So now they have 2 expansions worth of data to sort of judge that on. I feel like what they learned more so after seeing the success of adding cracked clusters to the leveling roulette is that they need to properly incentivize people to do those types of content on tanks or healers. For me as a DPS, when I do dungeons nowadays, it's not that bad, at least on the Ether Data Center, ever since they added the cracked clusters to the leveling roulette. However, that doesn't change the fact that when it first came out, we all knew, even people who were planning on raiding as tanks and healers, were going to hop on Samurai and Red Mage to level them just to see how they played. So I think the prediction mostly came true. The first month expected an influx, but I think that the whole leveling roulette thing, giving cracked clusters, was a nice reward. I'd like to see rotating rewards for the different roulettes for the Adventure in Need bonus in particular. Although then we have the fear, do you have Adventure in Need 1 and Adventure in Need 2 in case it's tank and healer, and then you reward one more than the other? There's a few different things that you could do there, but I think they'll invest more time into properly rewarding people playing stuff that isn't DPS in the roulette. But I also don't expect 2 DPS in the next expansion either, probably a tank and a healer. I'm leaving that in. Question number 3. Hello, hope you're doing well. Recently, I found myself a victim of succumbing to the Reddit hive mind when it comes to DPS rankings. Oh, this is going to be a fun week. I can already tell. Specifically regarding Dragoon and Machinist sucking. I then decided to level and gear Dragoon to see if it was as bad as everyone said, and surprisingly, I performed pretty well. Yeah, I think here's the thing, like you called it, Reddit hive mind. It's kind of community hive mind at this point too. But generally, the meta right now is playing well. Play any job you want, even if the job could use some work. I mean, just because you can play well on a job doesn't mean a job doesn't need work. Looking at you, Machinist. It's fine. I mean, if you play reasonably well, doesn't matter what job you play, you'll probably out DPS like 90% of the people you run into in like Duty Finder and the Party Finder and stuff. It's an unfortunate truth, but if you play well, you will probably do better than 90% of the people you run into, regardless of the job you play. So yeah, there you go. Reddit hive mind is technically mathematically correct, but if you play well, that's all that matters. Question number 4. Howdy ho, Happy. Would you prefer pancreation? Pancreation was awful. Don't bring that up. To the... Alright. No. You're going to say Blitzball. How about neither? I picked neither. Question for the roulette. Environment, player, missing attractions, spoiler 2.0, lore questions. I'm going to take missing attractions just because I don't understand what missing attractions actually is. Oh, I guess Gold Saucer. That should have... It didn't, but anyway. Roller coaster maybe with or without rail shooter. What, so we can incorporate the friggin' blow dart mechanics from Stormblood's main scenario? I guess, dude. It's like Gold Saucer is one of those things where it's like it's fun for a little bit, but it's just not the same as when you play these mini games in a single player game. When I think of the reason why you play Blitzball and the reason why you play the Battle Arena in 7 and 10, and the reason you do those things is because there's rewards that are like game breaking locked behind those things. You have Wakka's best weapon, or his celestial weapon. You have, you have. What's it called? You have the Chocobo Racing in 10. Let's keep using that as an example. You have the Tidus's Celestial Weapon. The Lightning Bolts, which is dumb as hell, and I would never want another game, is for Lulu's Celestial Weapon. Like, those minigames exist for a very important reason. In an MMO, they can't exist for the same level of reason. So they die off way faster unless people want the glamour. And that's just how it's going to be. So I don't really care about the Gold Saucer in terms of developing additional attractions for it. If they have spare resources, okay, fine. I'm not going to say don't do it, but it's just not that important for the grand scheme of things. On that note, number 5. Hey, oh, Haps, not a first-time asker, so take this instead. /pet times 100. You're an asshole. And now you mentioned potatoes, and I haven't eaten, so I'm hungry. Quick question. So if you have 2 or more monks a party, how do brotherhoods interact? So the monk just doesn't get their own brotherhood when they do brotherhood. So if you have another monk doing brotherhood, you're basically only giving each other brotherhood as a bonus. Like, so if you're one monk, the 7 people around you get brotherhood. If you have 2 monks and you both brotherhood at the same time, basically it just means all 8 people have brotherhood. You don't get 10% for everyone. It's 5% for everyone because you can't overlap brotherhood buffs. But the monks would also be benefiting because they're getting it from each other. That's it. That's the only way that they interact with each other. It's smarter to separate them in terms of raid damage if you have 2 monks for some reason, instead of stacking them both up and just, you know, basically only getting the 5% plus the Forbidden Chakra. Separate them and benefit from them as for a longer period of time. That uptime matters more, but ultimately it's not that important. Number 6, hello. Everything about getting back into World Prog. What would you do? What would you like to do for progression versus what you realistically can do? And what about this Super Savage? It may be easier for you to do hardcore prog on it since it's only 1 fight. Although I'm aware it could potentially take longer to beat than all of Omega, which would be pretty funny. So let's cover the basis one by one. Would you get back into World Prog? Yes, but it would not be for World First. It would just basically be like super quick prog, because I will not do World Prog if I can't stream it. That's the bottom line. And at that point, in my opinion, it's not World Prog. So it is what it is. Would you like to do for progression versus what you realistically can do? I can realistically do quick prog in the first week. I just can't have another Gordius where it takes fucking 5 weeks to beat a fight, because that was soul crushing for me. And what about the Super Savage fight? I'll beat it at some point, you know, kind of like I beat 04 Savage, but I'm not like clearing it weekly. And that's like it probably. And then we'll probably take some resources, maybe beat it a couple of times to get some stuff together for a guide. I'm working on the 04 Savage guide right now, by the way. But all the same, I haven't really been hardcore looking for a static. I just kind of have my name in the hat in Elysium. It's like, hey, if anyone needs a melee deeps, I'm Monk. And Monk's doing pretty well right now, so hit me up. I beat all of Savage at this point, so I'm good. And I beat every other Savage, so I'm good. So that's kind of just where I sit right now. As we get closer to 4.1, though, I'll probably start taking things more seriously, because I'm going to need an answer for 4.2. Number 7, how you doing, Mr. Happy? Or what? What? How you doing? I'm doing all right. Got a question regarding the state of casters and rating now and in the future. You got me so far? I don't know why. That's not how you type a Jersey accent, by the way. That's like a Jamaican accent. Hey, the state of casters and rating now and in the future. See? Like, that's not Jersey what you're typing right now. That's completely different. Red mages are valid in progression for raising allies and for their ease. Well, okay, if I could just answer straight up, state of casters, anything. Black mage is a monster right now, but requires really, really solid play to do those monstrous deeps. They're literally like the samurai of the casters, but they're harder to play. Summoners could use a little bit of love, but they're still performing well. Red mage is ultimately easiest to play with really good damage output and has infinite raises, plus embolden. Honestly, if they weren't so easy to play, all that other stuff would probably be okay, because it would be harder to achieve maximum efficiency. But it's not. It's really easy to achieve maximum efficiency on Red Mage. That is the only problem. Also, Summoner Devotion, really. Stop making it the way it is. Just make it targeted, or AoE, or something. I don't know. just better than what it is, please. I can't look at Devotion. It's bad, all right? So, yeah, I think that's the biggest thing. Red Mage is too easy to play compared to what it puts out. I don't really like the idea of Red Mage being nerfed, though. I like the idea of the other casters being brought up to its level. But I think as long as it's got those chain reses, as much as not fucking up would be better, the recoverability is really nice. So that might be a place they look to hit. Number 8. Hey, Mr. Happy, first-time watcher, long-time poster, so give me a bonus of your choice. Kate, no, that's not how it works. What? No. My question for you this week, since the revamp of the battle system, we have more space on our hotbars. Some jobs. Next expansion, we'll go back to where we were in Heavensward. I have a feeling they're going to have to do this, like, ability squish thing, like, every expansion. I don't think you can do it every other expansion. I think you need to do it every single expansion at this point. Which is normal, because you want new, flashy things, and that's, like, what World of Warcraft eventually landed on. Although World of Warcraft kept pruning and pruning, or making your choices so you have less and less abilities, but you're choosing between a wide pool of abilities. But mathematically, something always turns out best. So, not a huge fan of it, but it's going to happen. They have to keep changing the way that the skills interact with each other and stuff like that, and the number of skills you have on your hotbar, or it's going to be a disaster at some point. And it was true in Heavensward. It'll be true till the end of this game. So it is what it is. They'll just have to do it. We don't know what they'll do later, but we know it'll happen. It has to. All right, number 9. Yahalo, Haps? Yahalo? Hello? You doing okay? Alright. First time asker, so you can have a bonus of getting to pick which Final Fantasy games the next 2 tiers of Omega are based on. I'm personally okay with the idea of them not being based on Final Fantasy tiers. Final Fantasy V I expected to be the only reference, kind of, just for the entirety of the Interdimensional Rift. Maybe with some, like, unique bosses, because there's not enough bosses in the normal Interdimensional Rift thrown in there. But, like, I didn't expect it to be like, hey, here's all Final Fantasy V in the first tier, and then who the hell knows what'll happen in the next 2. I don't like the idea of just like, let's just borrow the other Final Fantasy games for the fan service. It's like, I'd like to see something unique evolve, and we'll see if it actually does. I wanted to ask about One-ilm Punch. Recently got munked. Dude, One-ilm Punch is still a laughingstock. It actually has a very unique use, but it's not great. It basically now is a stun that has no diminishing returns, which has potential value, but not practical value. So, yeah, I just take it off my hotbar, move it way over there, and say, sayonara, sucker. What would I want the skill to do? You know, I'm not opposed to the idea of One-ilm Punch, your idea right here, where One-ilm Punch is basically your execute, like, below 20%, but not even like Mercy Stroke. Like, it's a Mercy Stroke where it sits on 60 seconds, but it's an ability that every time you use it under 20%, it does more damage. Like, and it's something you're going to repeatedly use over and over again. Basically, replacing True Strike, or maybe the effect can only take place, I don't know. There'd have to be some other rule behind it or something like that that I can't really think of right now. Maybe every one use eats one Forbidden Chakra stack or something, and then you end up replacing Forbidden Chakra at the lower points with One-ilm Punch. I don't know. Like, it is what it is. It's there for a purpose, but that honestly annoys me more, One-ilm Punch, than all of Tackle Mastery does. Because Tackle Mastery, no matter how you look at it, all the other effects it has, at the very least, it was a 30 potency buff to Fire Tackle, or to Shoulder Tackle with Fire Tackle. So it was a monk buff. Cool. One-ilm Punch is just like, okay, I'm still not putting this on my hotbar, so just get rid of it. Just whatever. You can make it more useful. You can make it involved with the chakra stacks, like I said, but I don't know. Just, I'm tired of seeing that ability. All right, number 10. Hello there. How often do you find people parroting information that is incorrect or downright bad and then attributing it to you? Well, I mean, if we look back, a lot of the times, like, I remember my Ifrit guide, my Leviathan guide in particular, had some pretty bad mistakes in them. A lot of my early guides did. The pressure of putting out guides back then was way higher than the pressure of putting out a guide now. A lot of people just kind of wait for guides now, and they know there's so many different ones out there that they don't, like, demand guides from me or from other people. They just kind of wait because they know they're going to have a bunch of options available. So back in the day, I wouldn't say it was parroting. I would say that a lot of the times it was fair criticism. So to answer your question, not very often do I hear parroting. I hear old stuff that actually had screw-ups, though, and that's something that's fair to talk about. What prompted this? Oh, God, let me read this off screen. Let's see. Okay, no, this is parroting right here. Okay, so I ran into a samurai yesterday who was single targeting when we were pulling large packs and said AoE potencies were too low and samurai was bad AoE. Were you pulling packs of 2? Because then, yeah, you probably wouldn't AoE unless the potencies are a certain point. Monk should also not use AoE. Dude, you use Rockbreaker. I use 2 targets. I usually use Rockbreaker on 3 because Rockbreaker on 2 is kind of TP intensive. No, when 6 mobs are pulled, you'll always do AoE, and I've never told someone, no, don't do AoE on 6 mobs. Have you seen Healer Happy? Where I'm like, holy, yes, I don't even care, 3 mobs. I get excited over that. So that actually is parroting, unless you're below like 300 TP. Then I wouldn't AoE, but on 6 mobs, yeah. On Samurai, yeah. AoE. I didn't say that. I didn't say don't AoE. That's a fucking certainty. Question number 11. Hey, Happy. First time asker, so have a meal of your choice cooked by Gordon Ramsay himself. Dude, I went to Ramsay's Steak at FanFest. Oh, I don't know how to eat steak since then. Like, I do, but I'm always like, man, this is good. But it's not Ramsay's Steak. It's not, unfortunately. Anyway, my question refers to content becoming outdated and the implication of unsynced content. What are your thoughts on being able to unsync difficult content, referring more to the content like Super Savage in 4.1 and the second coil of Bahamut that have no story progression implications rather than raids? You think it is right that these pieces of content are available for unsync? Yeah, who cares? I mean, actually, so for second coil Savage, I actually think it matters a little bit more because Melusign Mauler and titles like that, those were really difficult to obtain. Those aren't like coil or Savage in my opinion, but like you're saying like second coil Savage and that, yeah, those are kind of different because those don't have any other rewards. But at the same time, it's like, what am I going to tell someone they can't unsync it? Like, I can't bring myself to care anymore. My personal thought on it is I would like to have seen those remain synced always with no unsynced option. But I also just can't bring myself to care enough to complain about it. It's all it is, man. I don't have the energy to complain about shit that's old content. It is what it is. People unsync everything else. I'm not going to make it, oh no, you have to exclude this because I did it when it was relevant. It's like, in that case, fucking do it with everything. You know, I can't bring it to care. Just, it's fine. All right, reply number 12. I call it a reply instead of question. That's what it says on the forums. Hey, Haps, how you doing? I'm doing all right. How you doing? How you doing? Real quick, thanks for answering my question last week. I know you said you don't like answering those questions, but it was exactly what I was looking for, so thank you. I think yours wasn't as bad. I don't like the way you preceded the question was worse than the question as an offender. So I'd say that it panned out pretty well. 2 questions. I was wondering if you knew if Yoshi P would ever implement something similar to what WoW has done that you can pay yourself with in-game currency. I'm not a huge fan of that. It's nice in free-to-play games, like Albion has it. I don't like it in sub-MMOs. It's just like, it encourages some less than favorable activities, or it involves also whaling a little bit on a sub-based game. I'm not a big fan of it. I bet he would do it though. Considering WoW did it and WoW has had whatever, you know, yeah, they go up and down in subs, but still, I wouldn't be surprised if it happened. But no, I don't think he's ever said anything about that. And second question, with so many people complaining about the final trial, and Yoshi P have already said they will not nerf it, do you think they will do anything else to appease them? No. I honestly think he says it won't nerf it, dude. I don't believe that for a second. If enough people complain about it for a long enough period of time, it will happen. It's not as bad as the final steps of Faith. I'm sorry, not the final steps. The original steps of Faith, where you had to, no matter what, like wait 6 to 8 minutes to wipe and try again if people screwed up really fast. So because it's not like that, and besides, I feel like it kind of helps people going into endgame, because Susanoo and Lakshmi, yeah, they hit hard, but I feel like if you can do Shinryu, you can do Susanoo and Lakshmi. So I feel like it's like a confidence builder. When you do finally beat it, you're like, well, now I can hop into the Extreme Primals. Everyone makes jokes about how Shinryu's harder, so why don't I just hop into the Extreme Primals? Then they get into the Extreme Primals, they start maybe learning how to play their jobs if they don't already know, or they can start getting into endgame content in general, and I feel like it's a nice stepping stone. So I hope it doesn't get changed, but let's be honest, if enough people do it, it's gonna happen. It's gonna happen, and eventually it'll probably have echo anyway, so it'll happen. It'll happen. All right, number 13. Hello, hello. Last question in July, so I have a bonus of mac and cheese without the cheese. That's gross. That's gross. Just mac. That's it. All right. It's not even a Big Mac. It's just mac. You ever had a Big Mac and cheese? It's where you take a Big Mac and you put mac and cheese on it, or you take the Big Mac, you slice it up, throw it into the mac and cheese. Either or work. I've never had it. You should go and try it right now. I'm curious about the 14 Nation talk show. Who ran it and why was it discontinued? Did it inspire you to start State of the Realm? I'll answer the last question very quickly. Yes, it inspired me to do State of the Realm. Although my girlfriend still had to kind of drive me to make State of the Realm because I wasn't confident in my podcast producing abilities. Even now, my production is still pretty shit, but now I just do the podcast anyway. 14 Nation was run by Gamebreaker, Gary Gannon more particularly. I asked them if they needed a co-host because I heard they were looking for an additional one, and it turns out they were going to ask me anyway. So that's how that got started. The reason why it discontinued is because without Michael Byrne, who was no longer a part of the show due to a lot of real-life issues and him moving on to some other stuff, me and Gary just didn't make a show. Because Gary was like the guy who generally knows about MMOs, and I was the specialist, but he was running the entire website, so it wasn't feasible to really have him on the show every week. And I didn't want to run the show at the same time and look for other co-hosts and whatnot, because at that point, I might as well do a podcast on my own channel, which is exactly what happened. So it was discontinued for those reasons. Basically, Gary and me not being really a great pair for a podcast and Byrne having to move on to other things. Number 14. Wow, this one's got a lot of words. Hello, Mr. Happy. I've been a long-time lurker, but this is the first time I've ever asked a question. I guess that means I owe you a bonus. What's up with that, by the way? I still don't know when that started. It just happened. One day, somebody just said, hey, first-time bonus. And I was like, cool, we should do that every time. And now everyone does it, and it's crazy. So I give you, and this is still here by the time, wait. Means I owe you a bonus, so I give you, but you didn't, wait, if this is still here by your time, you never added a bonus. You just added an so I give you, and then it's just words that said maybe I'll get back to and edit this and actually give you something. Wow, I see how much you care. I see how much. Sip of water. So I've been playing 14 for a little over 3 years. Until recently, I never touched Savage or anything, or even Extreme Primals. A couple weeks ago, some people in my FC were looking for Susano. Talked about how it dragged them down with no experience. Pressured me into joining, did my best, tried my best learning everything they were throwing at me, and after we miraculously beat it, they told me I had second place DPS. I was shocked, but what shocked me even more is they invited me to join their static. I explained I would bring down their... Dude, you need to stop fucking... You're doing this. You're all up here. See this place right here? This is where you are. You know where you need to be? Clickety-clacking on your clickety-clack-clack keyboard. That's what you need to be doing right now. Let's see. Thursday, first Savage group made it to 13% V2 before calling it a night. Was our second go, made it to 30% V3. So what I'm learning is you were actually a good raider, and you kept telling yourself you were shit to the point where you never did it. That's all I've learned. That's what I've learned at this point. You made it to 30% V3. Do you know how few people make it to the end of the V3 encounter? Like collectively across the entire community? I'll tell you, not a whole lot, because people always talk about raids being too hard and shit like that. So tips and tricks for keeping track of stuff. Practice. You're in your head so much you're not paying attention to the fight. Just pay attention to the fight. You'll learn the mechanics. That's all it is. If you've made it to 30% V3, you've already proven you have the mental capacity to do the fight. So stop overthinking it and just do it. Yesterday, you said tomorrow, so just do it. Alright, on that note, hey Haps, straight to the question as it's a long one. Alright, spoilers for the final boss of Stormblood's name. Honestly, I just dropped it 2 questions ago. I can't be asked if it's just his name. Oh my Jesus. Okay, yeah, pretty long. What's it called? Oh, it's about Shinryu being nerfed again. Final boss should be hard, difficulty spike, final fight is simpler when you're a streamer, chat full of players. Well, I also did it with my free company. One of the main issues I had with the fight, by the time the duty fighter group had learned the fight and knew what to do, the time would run out. The group would abandon the duty. So you know what's beautiful about that? If a duty is about to run out, they added a feature on your game, which tells you the people you most recently played with. And what you can do is just before the timer sets out, tell everyone you're gonna make a private party finder afterwards with a password. Make it something stupid. I don't know, like 99876 or whatever. And tell them all, hey, if you guys want to keep trying after this, I'm gonna make a party finder since we're all in the same data center anyway. Join up, and if we don't fill everything, we'll fill in the party finder for the rest of it. That's what my recommendation would be on the time limit front. As for a stressful couple of weeks, you did beat it a couple daily before I beat it. Overwork the end of the day, I have a couple of hours, don't need that stress in my life. That's the thing though. A lot of people talk about it being stressful. For me, it's not so. It's more about the people you surround yourself with when you play the game in general. I choose to surround myself with people who can complete content in the duty finder at the very least. So for me, that's the biggest thing. I don't just say, oh, hey, who in my chat wants to do this shit and find a bunch of people who can do it. I look at my free companies, I look at my link shells, then I look at my stream chat. I always look in game before I look into my chat, because I already have all these link shells that have capable people. I have all these free companies. It sounds to me like that's a step a lot of people don't take when they're playing an MMO. They play through it at their own pace with not a whole lot that goes into interaction or anything like that, or they surround themselves with the bare minimum number of people they feel they need to enjoy just being logged into the game. But if you're contemplating doing things, or if you want to make sure you're surrounded by people who can do different pieces of content, surround yourself, join a bunch of link shells that say, hey, friendly communities, do stuff like that, be a part of those communities, foster a community in a sense right there. It's that I feel like that's the big thing. People are trying to get the single player, like, I only have this amount of time, I can complete this much, but it's an MMO, so I need to rely on 7 other people. And that's really where the complaints come in. Shinryu is not a hard fight. The problem is people don't pay attention for the first 69 levels. They get to 70, and like, I've seen all these mechanics before. Let me just pretend I know none of them. Which is what happens with Shinryu for some reason. I don't know what it is. The only one that makes sense to me is Tidal Wave, because no one's like, oh, I've seen Tidal Wave before. It's on the outside of the arena. That might knock me out. Nobody even thinks of it. Some people just look at the boss, or they don't look at the tidal wave, or they look at the tidal wave and they go, meh, and then that's it. And it's over from there. So for me, it's like, that shouldn't be a stressful part of your life. Overcoming a challenge or choosing to surround yourself with more friends and people who are capable of it, that should be enriching. And it is for me, which is why I don't agree with that point of view, which was the ultimate question. Do I agree with your point of view? And the answer is, I don't. I've always chosen to do that with MMOs. That's been the way that I've played them. And I feel like nobody has to be hardcore to do similar things, if that makes sense. On that note, number 16. Hey, Haps. Hope you're having a great day. It's been a good one. Final Fantasy XII New Game Minus has been quite interesting. Before asking a question, I want to say thank you. You're welcome. For 2 reasons. You gave me advice on DPS before Savage release, gave me the confidence to continue with Savage, and 2, I was the red mage that made the group that you pugged for 02 Savage this past week. So as a bonus for saving us, have the tombstone you weren't able to get. Can all 8 of us do that again, and we have the same person die there, and then I save us again? So I can say, hey guys, remember last week when I asked and you said you would have done it, but I passed on it, or I agreed on it, and it was a shit roll, and yeah, I just want my early model tombstone. One question for 03 Savage since you've cleared it. I've cleared 04, so if you have questions on that too, don't hesitate. Been bugging all of Omega Savage up to 03 Savage since its release. Cannot seem to find a competent group that can even get past up to library phase. It's pretty normal. Will this fight become easier to do as weeks go on? Yeah. I mean, here's the thing. Mechanically speaking, 03 Savage is ultimately just a mechanic check, so it takes people to practice it and learn how to do it. Honestly, outside of Tuesdays, I think 03 Savage bugs are going to be a disaster, like, no matter what. I'm always going to be trying to clear 01, 2, 3 on Tuesday, because if I have to wait any longer than that, the quality of the pug just goes down as the week goes down, because people are trying to get their weekly clears out on the first day. So extra gear makes things go easier. It makes the dragon die faster. It makes Appenda die faster. It makes you tankier, so you don't have to worry about as much damage going out. Gives you higher HP values. Everything, of course, does get easier, but it is a mechanical check first and foremost. So that's going to be the biggest struggle. Get that first clear, then join those weekly clear parties, and you'll see it actually goes pretty reliably well. Also, if you're having trouble in the library phase, don't hesitate to just do the healer LB3 strat, where you kill Appenda normally, you keep your healers alive through Spellblade Holy, and then you LB3 with them. I swear to God, I've seen a lot of groups doing it, and it's been working for them, because you'll get another LB3 by the time you do it when you do Animal Farm. So if they have it for later, and then they beat the DPS. It's fucking stupid that it works, but I've seen people doing it and it working. So I'm just going to throw that out there. Number 17. Hey, Haps. Hope your new computer is working well. It is. I answered that earlier, but thank you again. Have a bonus of Blitzball being retconned out of reality and never actually existing. But then if it never actually existed, how can I enjoy my bonus? That's right. It's fucking mindfuck right there. Let's see. Thanks for answering my question twice a couple weeks back. Elite Hunt and Warrior question, in case you don't remember. No problem. Just the week before, you seem to have edited it out of the video. So I don't know how that happened. Like you said, I accidentally edited it out. I don't know how it happened, but I must have, because I went back and it wasn't there. But I know I answered it because I have the live footage of me answering it. So that's the mind fuck. Since the elite hunt's being posted daily is a typo, how is it still in the game? Great question. Let's move on. What's a good resource for figuring out melds? I mean, you just need to know stat weights. That's all it is. And stat weights are a bit iffy. There's still some numbers and some things that are being released. We should have some full information soon, though, but we don't. We don't have anything solid. Eventually, though, Ariala usually has, which is a website that I use for min-maxing a lot, ffxiv.ariala.com. I use that for min-maxing, and when there's like community accepted stat weights, they usually get put there, and then you can use that website to min-max with your melds. So that's a good recommendation. All right, number 18. Hey, Mr. H. I feel like you just went Harley Quinn on me. Which encounter would make you most disappointed if it was to become super savage? One that's already savage. That's it. If it's an encounter that's already savage, I understand it's like a whole tier above, but it would be pretty much any of Alexander's second coil or first Omega. I don't want a third difficulty of these encounters. I want to see what the hell they can do with Twintania. I'm still banking on it being Twintania, by the way. Nostalgic in its difficulty, dizzy. I'm sticking by that theory. Number 19. Hey, Hap, my second question for you is to have a bonus of 2 I-320 ornate pieces from Wondrous Tale. 70 mil a pop. Yeah, those are pretty good. This may be a bit unusual, but I wanted a better understanding from your personal playstyle for 14 where it relates to how you use your keyboard and mouse. It's possible to film your hands, but then you can see that I don't have legs, and that's embarrassing. Anyway, WASD. Things such as, do you bind control to a hotkey on your mouse? No, I do not. And then press 3 on your keyboard? No, I do not. I do control and shift. Control and shift, I do all on the keyboard, and then if I do control and shift, it's control and shift plus mouse button, which my mouse buttons are usually set to either the numpad or just the unique mouse button itself. I actually have a video about most of this. I think there's a few things that you're mentioning here, but if you look up, if you just look up the letters UI, like, you know, user interface UI, on my channel, you should find a video where I actually explain bit by bit why everything is placed the way it's placed and why I have buttons on certain buttons and how I use them. So I do have a video for that. It just doesn't have my hands, though. That it doesn't have. That we'll see about. Number 20. Alo. There, Mr. Happy. Hope you're having a nice day. As a bonus, I'll give you 30-day trial for the gym up until level 35. Listen. Yeah, I haven't been to the gym in a while. Every time, man. It's doing Twitch and YouTube, man. It just kills me. If I had a bench right there, maybe. But, man, dude, I get fucking lazy when it comes to working fucking 14 hours a day and then not wanting to go to the gym. Anyway, have you played a trading card game like Yu-Gi-Oh? Yes, I played Yu-Gi-Oh and Pokemon. I was part of the Pokemon League when I was in middle school, the one that happens at Toys R Us. And I played Yu-Gi-Oh, not professionally, but with friends. I did a lot of collecting. I sold cards on eBay. Very first card I ever sold on eBay, I opened a pack at a local store, and I had a Dark Armed Dragon in it. It's way back when, during the Six Samurai days, but and the Gladiator Beast days. That was the last deck I had, was a Gladiator Beast deck, which unfortunately next to Six Samurais wasn't that great. But yeah, I played all those. I played mostly Yu-Gi-Oh. We had mini tournaments where I grew up, but I mostly sold the cards on eBay. The super expensive ones, especially the gold packs, came out, and I was selling crush cards. Ugh. I have a way better story for that, but I'll leave it out until later. And then 2, do you think EXP rewards for DPS should be raised in roulette? So we had this discussion, I think, a few weeks ago on Mondays with Mr. Happy, where we suggested the idea, if you're in a queue for a leveling dungeon for an X amount of time, then you should get more experience points from the dungeon to make up for the wait time. I feel like that's an okay solution. So your question is raise the EXP in roulettes, so waiting for the queue time is more worth it. I think the dynamic scaling is the best idea, but there's no fucking way they'll ever do it. So for me, that's what I'd like to see. And I do think that, yes, if your queue time is long, you can't just make it larger for them, because then if they do get a short queue time, it's bullshit. So if we can get that dynamic scaling EXP for queuing into the Duty Finder as a DPS, yeah, I'm totally down. Number 21, I think we have 27 questions total, something like that. Hey, first time poster, so I have a bonus of pizza. Maybe I want pizza for lunch. Nah, look at me. I don't need pizza. I run a lot of Alamigo trying to get that fucking mount. Sorry, you said frustrating mount. I said fucking mount because I got angry reading about it. Anyway, and the disparity I see in groups is very large. I have runs that take less than 15 minutes. I have others that take 30 plus. Time difference doesn't seem to be completely dependent on gear, especially because it's item level synced, which is very low damage output and much higher HP damage number for monsters. Seems as though they did a great job making this simpler now. The activities seem to take longer than before if you don't play optimally. Not a hardcore raider, but I would wager I play a lot more than the average player. This is a huge deal. However, recall the goals of Stormblood are more accessible to the average player. Do you think they achieve this? Yeah! Have you seen Susano, Lakshmi, and 01 Savage? Yeah, those were the things that were unaccessible before, or that a casual player may consider unaccessible or inaccessible. Yeah, those are accessible now. Dungeons, they work the same. It's the same. So, yeah, definitely. Number 22. Hey, Haps. Hope you're well. I'm doing good. I'm doing good. I've been reading conflicting info on the number of OGCDs you can fit between a global cooldown. Is it 1 or 2? That depends on how fast you are attacking, mostly. If you have a 2.5 second global cooldown, it's very easy to fit 2. I can even fit 2 occasionally between a 2.37 GCD or even like a 2.06 GCD. If I get no lag or it's not a potion, I can fit 2, or if I riddle a fire on, I can very easily fit 2. But it's generally like, it's a matter of how comfortably you can do it without clipping your next GCD. That is, delaying your next GCD because you're still fulfilling the animation or the animation lock of the OGCD that came before it. So I think the breakpoint there is like 2.2 seconds or something like that. After that, if your ping is high, it gets harder and harder to do. It's somewhere around that, but if you have really good ping, you could do it with like 2.1 and it feels fine. The only thing I wouldn't recommend double weaving is infusions or potions that have stats tied to them, like strength, because for some reason, those take a lot longer to use. So never double weave those. Number 23. Now, hi. All right. Haven't asked. I'm just thrown off by that. Haven't asked a question in a while. Have a returning bonus of a loaf cake. Well, I'm a loaf. Ugh. I'm a loaf. So my question this week is for a certain loud person on my novice network. That guy. And that is about the new role action project. This individual seems so dedicated to change it that he seems to keep bringing up that our NN should be like in PvP, or it should be an OGCD, or even it should just be a passive aura trait every day. All right. Oh, he doesn't like protect. I understand what you're saying. Not project, protect. He doesn't like protect. Leaving aside his attitude and conducting as a mentor aside, it kind of got me thinking, is protect actually that bad? So the problem with protect is you'll never do content without it. But if you're always going to have it, why does it exist? Just so I have to press this button before the fight? Like, they said the main reason they leave it in is because protect is a classic Final Fantasy spell. But if you just don't have protect and everything does 10%, like it factors in the change in defense and magic defense, like, it's just there to exist because you'll never not have the buff up unless you died and then you came back, and then most people will recast it on you unless they got rid of it after they gave it to you at the beginning of the fight because you shouldn't be fucking dead in the first place. But it just seems so meaningless, you know what I mean? So I feel I'm in that boat the most. It's not that it's bad, it's just like, why does it exist other than Final Fantasy has protect and we should have protect? I don't know. I don't know. That's just how it is for me. It has nothing to do with everyone should have it anyway, so why make it a role action? Just make it individual. It takes up a spot. It's like, why does it exist in the first place? That's for me. Number 24. Hey, Happy. First time posting after years of listening. So here's my first time bonus of a punt emote. Usable on all minions and Lalafels. Dude, I still want the ability for my Lalafell to sit on a demon brick. That's all I want. If it needs to be available for every race, then they can just stand on it with 1 foot and like balance or something. I don't know. So my question is, with Samurai's numbers being intentionally high, why is it that Black Mage does not have similar numbers? Black Mage is actually doing way better. But Black Mage is harder to perform in a raid fight than a Samurai is, unfortunately. So Samurai is doing, Black Mage is doing insanely well on fights where they can stand still and pump out the deeps. They got a lot of pretty significant buffs. Problem being, if you don't know the fight, or there's any sort of mistake made, it's bad. It's real bad how much it affects your potency, which is why the Red Mage question from earlier made so much sense. So I agree they should be on that front, but they're still harder to play than Red Mage, and Red Mage generally will perform similar, if not better, on fights with high mobility. Plus they have the Varese, plus they have Embolden. You heard it before. All right, number 25. Hey, Mr. Happy, Final Sim here, and welcome to Mondays with Mr. Happy, aka Mr. Happy Mondays, the weekly Q&A show where we ask you questions and you answer them. Oh, you fixed weekly! I'm so happy. What is the best way of leveling Desynthesis on Goldsmith? So Desynthesis is something I get a lot of questions about, to the point where I really should make a video about Desynthesis. I figured by now Ash would have had one, and he's like the big crafting guru, so like I kind of just didn't do it. At this point, I think I should make one. It's just I don't know about all the desynths, but I could do some research. Leveling desynth 277 and up. I think I just did leveling dungeons, I think. And I just like took all the like ghost ones, all the accessories I got from the dungeons. Excuse me. And I just desynth those over and over again with like Tinker's Calm. That's all I did. I mean, it was really easy, really easy to level Goldsmith. Weaver and Leatherworker, I did the exact same thing. So that's it, man. Just do the leveling dungeons and desynth that. As soon as Verity gear is desynthable, that will probably be a better option. But for now, it's not. So you can't. So do this instead. All right, number 26. Yo, Haps, don't know if we're still worried about spoilers, but I'll provide the name of the Stormblood. Yeah, I've been saying Shinryu's name the whole time. So this episode, I can't bring myself to care. So the last two expansions really reduced the prominence of Primals. Okay, is this going to be another... Oh, you think Primals will remain... Oh, okay, so it's about the significance of Primals. Do you think Primals will remain insignificant in the story going onward? Yeah, I don't know. I'm not a big fan of just everything being a Primal in the first place. So I'm kind of... I'd like us to just start having trials against, like, Nidhogg was nice, even though there's some technicalities there with his eyes and whatnot, where it wasn't like a primal. It was a trial encounter, but it wasn't a primal. Like, I just want us to move away from those trials just all being primals. Just do other things with it. You've got the room to do so, and you pretty much did it with Omega, where everything was the equivalent of a primal fight because they were just trial after trial. So just, I don't know, just do it. I don't know. Well, Susano actually played a pretty interesting role in the story. Well, you're right. Susano could have existed without. We could have just not had that encounter and still sabotaged what happened at that part of the story. Yeah, I kind of agree. Yeah, I'm not a big fan. It's cool to do, and they get to design cool bosses, but just design cool bosses and don't make them primals. And it looks like 27 is indeed the final question. Good day from Straya Haps. Good day from Australia. Good day. Good day. What are squadrons for? You know, I have them leveled, and I still wonder that. So they said eventually we'll be able to, like, take them through training trials, like through low-man dungeons, and they'll have their AI tuned to do stuff. Right now, they just bring me scripts and materia and weekly, like, EXP buffs. I use them to get the Grand Company to get the equivalent of the Tier 3 Free Company EXP buff for leveling my other jobs, because my Free Company doesn't have it on anymore. So that's it. Those are things that they're useful for, and hopefully in the future, I have no hope at all that they'll be useful for something else, because I have no faith. I have no faith they'll ever be useful for stuff. So that's my answer to that one. Okay, so that's all the questions we have from the forums themselves. I've got a little bit of time. It's a little late for me because I started late because I was playing Final Fantasy 12. But we've got time for a few questions from the Twitch chat, so let's get a few decent ones in, like 2 or 3 maybe. All right, so the first question that I have, which I kind of laughed at because I was like, really? Okay, whatever, I'll answer. Have you played other MMOs, is the first part of the question. The answer is a resounding yes. I've played more than a dozen different MMOs, and I could probably name some of them. Let's see. Silk Road Online, Hero Online, Granado Espada, World of Warcraft, Final Fantasy 11, Final Fantasy 14, 1.0, and 2.0. I'm counting that as 2 different ones. Recently played Albion Online, Blade and Soul. We had sponsored streams for Revelation and Twin Saga. Twin Saga was actually pretty nice. I'm trying to think of something. I played RO1. I played RO2. I didn't play RO1 super hardcore though. I barely played RO1. I just touched upon it. There's more, but I'm forgetting what they are. Oh, Rift. I played. I tried WildStar. I very briefly in college tried Star Wars. I'm trying to think if there's any others that I'm missing, but those are the ones I can think of off the top of my head at the very least. And so, yeah, what do you think would be good to include in 14 that already exists in another MMO? Most MMO ideas are kind of just recycled over the decades at this point. Like, it's very rare to see an idea that isn't just making a game more accessible, that's new and innovative. And that's really why World of Warcraft took off, is because they made the MMO genre a more accessible tool. They didn't do anything new, but the way that they did the things that were old, or the way they adapted the things that were old into a new style, was what was innovative about it at the time. But it borrowed ideas from all the MMOs that existed before it. So I don't know, man. New in an MMO, would be new in an MMO Blitzball. That would be new in an MMO. So please don't do that ever. I'm begging you. Don't do what's new if it has to be Blitzball. All right, just don't. Guild Wars 2 is another one I forgot to name. Good call. Sorry, Heart of Thorns made me kind of forget about it. Yeah, I don't know, man. It's like I'm over the idea that you don't need to make like brand new innovative content. You just need to make the content you have really good and last for a little bit longer. So I just like to see bigger raid tiers or more reason or more variety in dungeons. I like the idea of mythic dungeons, man, from World of Warcraft. To some degree, I like the idea of mythic dungeons and raid achievements or meta achievements where you have to beat raids with different, you know, ideas or like really unconventional means, or beat them really fast, or a bunch of other different little challenges. So I need that. That's what I want. That's what I want to see, and those are all ideas I'm taking, at least personally, from World of Warcraft. I've got this question, which I usually get like once every few months. What got you started into doing what you're doing now? What pushed you to doing dedicated and streaming and video creations? Well, honestly, I always wanted to do it, but I just told myself I never could. As soon as YouTube came out, I was like, man, I would love to make videos for YouTube. That's why I actually took video editing in high school for 2 years. The first year was actual video editing class, which is very basic in high school, and the second year I actually worked on the yearbook, which is not video editing at all. But the professor basically gave me a semester in that, so it was either working on yearbook or free semester or free period, pretty much. And I had a free period right before that, so I spent 2 hours in the computer lounge pretty much every day my senior year of high school. And then it didn't really start until Final Fantasy XIV was on its way out. Like I had made some really shitty videos of like Dance Dance Revolution and In the Groove, which I used to play really hardcore, and Final Fantasy XI and Kingdom Hearts 2 Final Mix. Like I did a bunch of like really shitty, like put a camera in front of the video or put a camera in front of the TV kind of recordings. And then eventually I got an actual computer in college, and then I started doing a few small live streams here and there. And then eventually I was working in New York City, and I started getting really involved with the Save the Children organization through Gaming for Good, through Athene. And one thing led to another, and after raising like over $20,000 for charity in a couple of nights, I got a YouTube MCN, which was great, which I still use to this day. Union for Gamers just treated me fantastically. And I just said, you know, fuck it. I'll make some videos. Why not? You know, I'm gonna dive right in, and people liked them, and so I kept making them, and then I did Twitch, and then the people liked that, so I do them. That's it. Obviously, that's a very crude way of putting it. That takes out all the blood, sweat, and tears of my family not understanding and my girlfriend pushing me when I didn't believe in myself. So it kind of undermines a lot of that. But I mean, no one wants to hear about that, right? No one wants to hear about the hard times. People want to hear about the easy times, the good times. That's what they want to hear about. So yeah, there's more to it than that. But that's a general description of the process. Alright, so I waited through a few minutes to see if I could get a variety of questions, and I eventually landed on this one remaining question. It's a very simple one. Happy, what are your thoughts on JRPGs being made every so often as how they were being made back then? Basically meaning making an old school JRPG on the modern day. It's nice for people like me who played the old school JRPGs, but it's really hard to break into the modern gamer market with old school JRPGs. The budget you have for a game like that's generally going to be a lot lower, which is why you see a lot of them happening on mobile devices, like the 3DS, or hopefully we get some decent ones on the Switch with the full-on Pokemon. Pokemon's probably the one that's most successful. That's like old school RPG, and it's because people just get addicted to catching the Pokemon. I don't think it's necessarily about the actual gameplay of Pokemon. They like the leveling and the evolving and the catching and the collection aspects of it. But it's definitely not from a gameplay perspective, the RPG elements are definitely not the main draw of Pokemon games. So it's nice for people like me, but they don't do as well as other like action RPGs generally do, or any other modern game like action adventure, action. Anything with the word action. Oh shit, action. 10,000, 10 million, 100 million. Nobody sells 100 million. Tons of sales, or you can just make a Grand Theft Auto. You can do either or of those. But anyway, I'm a fan of it. I'm hoping to see some decent ones in the next year or so. The next one I'm keeping my eye out for, Battle Chasers. I talked about it, made a video about it. That I got to play for about an hour. It was fantastic, and I think you guys will enjoy it. So if you haven't heard of it, Battle Chasers Night War. Can't wait till that game is available, and I will be playing through that. But anyway, thank you for asking questions this week. I'm going to hang out with my Twitch chat for a few more minutes before I wrap things up. I got to find someone to host and whatnot. But thank you for asking your questions over on YouTube and here on Twitch. If you have questions for next week, either show up live next Sunday or ask them in the Dream Network forums in the YouTube video. That's always in the description of the video, assuming I don't forget and have to do it sometime after the video is posted. If not, you can just go to dreamnetwork.tv, go to the forums, go to my forum in particular, the Mr. Happy 1227 side of the forums, and go there. It's a long way around, but at least it's a solution. Anyway, I will wrap up this YouTube video. I'll get to editing that, and Twitch stream will hang out for a few more minutes while I look for someone to host. Thank you for joining me this week, and until next time, take care.